Anyone, the show from the heart of the Mountain State that's growing in popularity faster than you can say semi-autobiographical anti-disability. I'll try that one again. Semi-autobiographical anti-disability. Forget it. Even faster if you try and say it drunk, which, in that case, good luck. Coffee Anyone's agenda is simple. We sit down with a local guest and some really good coffee or tea, and we find where we agree. Maybe it's political, maybe it's moral, and maybe it's just the fact that the locally roasted coffee at Do Re Mi is quite simply sublime. Fact is, if there's common ground to be found, by the Lord Harry, we'll be the ones who will find it. Our guest tonight is chomping at the bit to jump right in, but first let me introduce the architect of Coffee Anyone, the man whose vision created this juggernaut of niceness. But am I being complimentary just because he bought me my coffee? Please welcome Dr. Ali Khan.
Hi,
hello.
How are you?
Come on, everybody. There we go. Wakey.
Good, how are you?
So nice to see you.
Yes.
Actually, I've been wanting to meet you for quite a while.
Oh.
One thing I'll tell you about Brittany is that you're running for District 46.
Yes.
And she's the Democratic candidate. I've seen some of her work, and I like her page. She does not hide. She will say what's on her mind. She will not hide. She is what she is. She does not say things just wanting to get elected. So it's not all, I'll do this for you, I'll do that for you.
Yeah.
She actually will do those things, and we'll find out what her plans are. So you teach at
Buchanan
Upshur High School. You're an English teacher.
Yes.
And so how's that experience?
It's great. I usually tell people that I try to teach English. Some days I'm not sure how successful I am. But no, I love my job. My students are awesome. It's a really good experience over there.
Now, I'm sure you're on Facebook. How do you feel when you see English language being murdered on it?
Well, I like to think that language evolves, right? And some people might not have been as lucky as I am to have gotten such a good education.
Right.
And everybody's strengths are elsewhere. But I edit everything in my head that I read every single day.
Well, that's what, if I see somebody out there with a little rash, I'm going, what's the diagnosis here?
Yeah.
So,
the diagnosis is bad English.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And if I hear someone on the radio doing something silly or there's a bad edit or something, I just go,
that's no good.
Come on.
That's no good.
You can do better than that. Come on.
Everybody's specialty somewhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I probably couldn't diagnose anybody's rash. I'd say, you have a rash. I'd probably be right about that at least.
Right. Put some, if it's wet, keep it dry. If it's dry, keep it wet. And if it doesn't work, use some steroids. Don't use that idea. Check with your doctor. I'm not recommending this thing. Yes, you could die from my advice on this show, but not at my office.
No.
Yes, pay me a fee. You'll be fine.
That's my family's crest.
Yes. So I know you were also involved with West Virginia Can't Wait.
Yes, I got my pin on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so, I was considering running, and my philosophy, I supported Bernie Sanders in 2016, and I really admired the fact that he said he wasn't going to take corporate money,
right.
That, he wanted to answer to the people and kind of have a movement of the average individual who's struggling in this country. And so I had said to myself, if I was ever going to run for office, I don't care how small the office is, I would never do that. I would never take corporate money. That seems like a pretty easy pledge to agree to, right? So I got invited to come meet Stephen in Lewis County a year ago, and
Stephen Smith, he's running for governor.
Yes, he's running for governor. Yeah. So I got invited to meet him, who kind of started this movement, and I was fully prepared to not like him because I'm a skeptical person by nature, and I did not expect to like him, Right. And so it was tennis season. I coached tennis at the high school as well, and so, I went in my sweats and went over there to meet him, and somebody had already thrown me under the bus because the first thing he does is comes up to me and he goes, "I'm Stephen Smith, I'm running for governor, and I heard you might run for House of Delegates." And we had a conversation about that, and then I got to see him speak in his presentations that he does, and I was immediately like, wow, he's actually as amazing amazing as everyone says he is. He's as genuine. And as I learn more about West Virginia Can't Wait, and that the pledge is all about not taking corporate money and always standing up for working people and not crossing picket lines, and I'd been involved in the teacher strike, that was a pretty easy thing to sign on to. I was like, sweet. He wrote the pledge I was going to write for myself, so that was pretty easy. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
In West Virginia, everybody starts thinking about socialism.
Yeah.
When Bernie Sanders is mentioned, even though, you tell me, why is that not true? Or if it is, why do you support him?
So I still haven't decided who I'm supporting this time around. I am definitely leaning towards Sanders at this point, because I think he's the most genuine and honest, and he's been that way his whole life. But I think people like to use the term socialism without understanding what democratic socialism is. So we already have a lot of instances of democratic socialism. It's where we've all agreed democratically to give our tax money to do something beneficial for everybody, right? It's not that we're sharing all of our, products. It's not that we're evening out everybody's income, but saying we should all, as a whole, fund public education, or fund the fire department or the police department or the roads, right? So we already have aspects of democratic socialism here, and there are some other aspects of it, like, healthcare for all in other countries that we'd like to also mimic. And I think that it's shown to be successful in a lot of places, and we have a lot of examples to look at and say, here's where it works, here's where it doesn't. We're kind of beneficial in that regard.
Have you ever thought about, Obamacare came out, Affordable Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those things are gradually being taken away.
Right.
If there is, what do you think about the Massachusetts? Now, I'll mention another very controversial figure, Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Lately, he's been a little bit of a trouble because of his vote. But he had a program there, too. Would there be something like that set up in the state itself?
We have, like, the West Virginia Can't Wait pledge is a pledge. It's separate from signing on to the platform. So West Virginia Can't Wait also created a platform. So there's like 250 some policies that we have already drafted as a team that we got input from across the state. And we do have a healthcare plan. Now, it's not exactly like that, but it is trying to expand access for people. And some of the most important aspects of that are putting caps on prescription drug prices. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that I'm sure maybe you face in your practice, that people just can't afford to fill their prescriptions. If I didn't have PEIA, which is its own problem, as we saw with teacher strikes, I wouldn't be able to afford, I have asthma, so I wouldn't be able to afford my medication every month.
Expensive.
It's incredibly expensive to have asthma. And I didn't even ask to have it. It's not fair.
Right. A lot of my patients have that problem. Obviously, the accessibility of drugs. I saw this thing that, actually insulin, you can get it for $25, but some of those insulins, better insulins, it's thousands of dollars.
Right.
So it's very, very difficult. And I saw that one of the things is to get affordable prices for insulin also, which is really needed. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And if you don't have insulin, you're going to die.
Right. We just had someone pass away in Ohio, like near where some of my friends are, because they had rationed their insulin around New Year's and they couldn't contact their doctor.
I usually will get samples or stuff, which some people think that that's another way of supporting the drug companies, but I'll try to get anything to help the patients out. So we do that. What about those huge deductibles in the Affordable Care Act? I have a deductible of nearly $5,000-$6,000.
Right.
I have to think twice before I even go to a doctor, so I'll just see myself.
Yeah. It's pretty convenient, isn't it?
The mirror in the bathroom,
But how do you
the perfect patient, aren't you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But how do you work with those things?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and probably misinformation surrounding the Affordable Care Act, is that when the Affordable Care Act was presented, it was a pretty great thing. And then it went through about 10 million changes and revisions. And then each state did their own set of revisions as it was rolled out. And so the Affordable Care Act that we see now is not at all what it was intended to be. And for a period of time, right after college, I was also like, I had like the Obamacare insurance, and it was expensive. I mean, it wasn't affordable for me to have as someone who was working like a lower wage job than I am now. And
so do you believe that Bernie Sanders has a plan about insurance. Do you agree with his plan? What his plan is for healthcare?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's disingenuous, and he'll say it, to say that it's not going to cost people more in taxes, right? So it can cost me more in taxes, but in the end, the bottom line is that I'm paying less each month for my prescriptions. I'm paying less to go to the doctor. I'm more inclined to go see you when I have a wet rash or a dry rash or whatever kind of rash I have.
Right.
So, I mean, there's times where I've not gone to the doctor, even though I know I should, because I'm afraid of how much it's going to cost when I get there. And it doesn't help but to say, if I don't go to the doctor and I don't know I have that thing, then I don't have to pay the money. But once I know I have something, you have to treat it. So
you have to treat it, and you can actually spread the disease. What if that rash is something communicable? I mean, what are you going to do?
That's true.
No, everybody's got it. So
one example for me is I got mono last year, like last fall, and I still have it. Like, it's still active in my bloodstream for whatever reason. And, you know, I could go through 10,000 tests to figure out why it's affecting me and my spleen, but also at the same time, I don't have a ton of extra money to spend on doing that. So, you know, I wake up every morning, I'm still breathing because of my asthma medicine. And so that's a personal example of things that I've avoided going to the doctor for.
I mean, that's great. I mean, one of the richest countries in the world, and we don't have this figured out. So,
and I'm not struggling like other people are financially. I mean, I don't want for things like, you know, basic needs, and I still won't go to the doctor because of that. So,
yeah. Now, I saw in there also in one of the Stephen Smith's program, I don't know if you agree with that or not, he said that he doesn't like Walmart and all these big corporations, and he's not going to give tax breaks for other big corporations to come into West Virginia. Is that a mistake?
I have like two minds with this, I think. I think there's a time and a place to encourage business to come into an area by maybe giving them like a short-term break. Like a lot of municipalities will give someone, you know, I don't pay this tax for a year or two after you move in, or 3 years, you know, whatever it is. And then after that, you start paying the tax. But it's an incentive for them to start the business there. But we give them a tax incentive, and then 2 years later, we cut their taxes further, and then we bail them out when they're failing. And so I think there's a difference between encouraging a company to come to an area and you know, benefit the economy, and pandering to them constantly at our expense.
Why do you think that a lot of industries are not coming to West Virginia?
I think one reason is that we are behind the times when it comes to civil rights. I mean, we don't have any protections for LGBTQ individuals in the state. We are not also very eco-friendly, and these are becoming top issues for companies. I mean, you have CEOs that are out talking now, whether you like it or not. We are moving towards green energy. We really need to invest in green energy, and if your state's not willing to do that, we can't come because our investors and our customers want that. And so if you're not giving the customers and the investors what they want, you're not going to be a successful business. So I think those two things are a big issue, because some companies actually have like laws against going into a state that doesn't have protections for all their employees. So I think that's a significant concern for people.
We need to get some manufacturing jobs, because if we decide to go more eco-friendly and we want the coal mining jobs to be taken over by another industry, we have to get the manufacturing jobs.
Right.
You know, in Morgantown, you know what's the biggest employer in Morgantown, which is actually one of the towns that the unemployment rate is the lowest, and it's doing quite well.
It's Milan, isn't it?
No, it's Ruby Memorial Hospital.
Is it really?
Yeah, so it's a state that is actually paying people. We're not manufacturing anything.
Right.
I mean, we're actually trying to decrease diseases. That's great.
Right.
But we are hiring these folks, and the state taxes, they give it to them. We're not selling anything out there.
Right.
That's the only thing. And it's not like we have a huge amount of tourism coming in, going to WVU to get treated. I mean, they'll go to Mayo Clinic. They'll go to, I don't know, MD Anderson. But I don't think there's a whole lot coming to WVU.
Right.
But that's what we are doing.
Yeah.
So So you will do, now you also have a little plan in there. You want to improve small businesses.
Right.
Now, you want to give them incentives, easy loans, because another thing I saw there was you wanted to get a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour. Would that affect the small businesses? Would they be able to survive with that kind of increase?
So I would say there's a lot of factors playing into that. So one thing that I've learned I have a friend who's opened a few businesses in Lewis County over the last year. She moved here from Colorado. She and her husband moved here from Colorado, and they've opened 3 incredible businesses, like right downtown in Weston. But hearing from them as people who have owned lots of businesses over the years, the ridiculous process of trying to start a small business here in West Virginia compared to Colorado or other states, it's terrible. Like you have to basically shell out a bunch of money hoping that the process goes as quickly as possible. But I mean, you have to have a place before you can apply for paperwork. You have to drive the paperwork down to Charleston. You can't do it online. I mean, there is a way, first of all, to streamline the process of starting a small business. Then there's trusting small businesses to succeed and giving them loans. And then you have tax breaks for big corporations where small businesses are picking up the tab when it comes to like a heavy tax structure. So in the West Virginia Can't Wait plan, we have readjusted the tax structure to benefit small businesses more. So I think if we see more small businesses coming in, small businesses keeping more of their profits rather than paying taxes, I think it could be realistic that they could raise the minimum wage. There might need to be some sort of wiggle room there, or at the very least, a transition plan for,
right. Makes sense.
To get up to $15 an hour. But even though that would be a challenge for small businesses, people can't survive on wages below that, especially even in our state, which has a low cost of living. So,
right, I totally understand, but a gradual increase would make sense.
Right.
And you have any questions, sir?
I would like to go back to healthcare if we could, and particularly, and I know that you're not the Bernie Sanders representative, but
I've become it all of a sudden.
Right.
Yes.
I have a good friend of mine, very, very Republican, very, very much in the Trump thing, and he came up to me, and I don't know where it came from. We were sitting talking, and he sort of leaned back in his chair and he says, "Now you've got socialised healthcare in Scotland, don't you?" And I said, "Well, we have nationalised healthcare in Scotland, but it's roughly the same thing." He said, "How does that work?" So I explained, you pay taxes, you don't have insurance that you have to pay for. It comes out of your paychecks, roughly about 4% of your paycheck that you pay per month. And you're covered for everything. Right. And he goes, I wish we had a system like that over here. And I said, well, you may well do. And I stopped myself from saying, Bernie Sanders is kind of advocating for that kind of thing. I personally, I would love to see a system like that. I don't know how that would affect you. I don't know how it would
affect me at all. Actually, I would encourage that system.
Right.
The problem is that people make these little they have parties,
right,
and they will try to say, okay, this is a good plan, but since you're from the other party, let's not do it.
Right.
Yep.
So if we had something like Medicare for all, it would be fine. It would be okay. It would work out better. Right now in offices, we are doing a lot of charity care anyway, because what am I going to do? If somebody comes into my office, I don't have the money, I'm going to send them out. Right. So I'll take care of them. If they have that, reimbursements will be better, and I'll pay the taxes. I don't mind that. I will pay the taxes if it helps every American.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely a system that I would like to see in the richest country in the world. I mean it could certainly help a lot of people.
I mean, you shouldn't have to worry about getting health care. I have some senior citizens who are actually having difficulty paying for their medicines. So they don't know what to do, whether they pay for food or their medicines.
Right.
So we have to take care of everybody. So if I have to pay some extra taxes to take care of that, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
Patriotism doesn't just mean looking for your extra $50 that you made in the stock market. It's to help out other people too.
Right.
So that's what I mean. I am not endorsing Bernie right now. I'm just saying that we need to have that kind of a plan, and that would be great if the Republican Party comes up with some plan like that. It's great.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, they had quite a long time to come up with some sort of solution to the Affordable Care Act, and they haven't really come up with anything. I mean, they had a complete Republican control for 2 whole years.
Absolutely.
And then we had the same in the state of West Virginia. Like, it was like the trifecta at the federal and the state level, and we still didn't get anything taken care of when it comes to health care. So,
one of the things that somehow helps is, I hate to say it, but people in West Virginia are shown these dire things that Muslims will take over, LGBTQ community will take over, socialism is coming. When in fact, a lot of West Virginians have been affected by cutting in some of these social programs.
Absolutely.
And it totally surprises me that they will support the leaders who are cutting these programs. How does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense to me. So great, the economy is great, stock market is going. A few years ago, they were talking about the deficits are bad. Now the deficit is okay.
Right.
Yeah, no one cares about the deficit now.
So I'd rather not make any money, or rather we have no deficit.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying is we need to have a responsibility. It's our country. Pay our bills.
Yeah. And I mean, so my husband's a financial advisor. You have to invest in stuff to get something out of it, right? So if we want a different plan, we're going to have to dump a bunch of money into it up front if we want something different. And in the end, they show down the line Medicare for All would save us money as a nation, because right now we're paying for people who can't afford their medication, right? We're offering them free services or free medication, or our taxes are covering it because they're on government assistance. And so in the end, we as a nation are going to save money if we invest in a plan that works for everybody, and we don't have to divvy out who I'm covering for on top of myself.
Now, our infrastructure
Yeah.
is needing a lot of help.
Yeah, I just got a sign put on my road that says Roads to Prosperity, and I don't know what they mean by prosperous, but as an English teacher, I don't feel very prosperous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the roads are bad. The bridges are bad. How are we going to repair those?
A lot of work. I will give this current administration credit in that there's been more done in the roads recently than before, but that's also because they've invested a lot of money in it. We need a lot of updating in terms of bridges, roads, water projects, broadband. I have to pick and choose when I can make a call driving home from work, because most of my drive from Buchanan to Weston, I don't have service. It's going to cost money, but it's going to bring a lot of people jobs. So, it's a payoff.
And good jobs at that. Not just a job that you have and you throw away. These are proper, good, well-paying, well-insured jobs.
And that's a countrywide issue. I've watched documentaries about the crumbling infrastructure of America for years, and it's still crumbling. So
the bridges are falling.
Yeah. We have some in our town that are very contentious, bridges that need fixed and repaired, and it's like we got to put them on a priority list and just hope they survive until someone gets it fixed. It's awful.
Well, before we go to any further, I I have a little gripe, and I hope you will fix that up when you get elected.
I'll try.
So I have an electric car, and I used to pay for the tag $50. Now they want $250. That makes no sense.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
No?
That's it. She's got it.
I got it. Awesome. Would you like a pin?
Yeah. I think I'll take the pin. This $200. She's gonna save me $200.
Here, you should be wearing
That's
that
it.
pin.
Yes.
There you go.
I will take that.
Don't poke yourself. You'll need to see a doctor.
Yes.
If it causes a rash, definitely go see a doctor.
If it's dry, keep it wet. If it's wet, keep it dry.
I'm going to remember that.
Yeah. So, do we have time for a little song, or do you have any other questions?
Well, before we go any further, I think we need to bring back
Oh, yes.
the folder.
The folder?
The
folder.
Are you familiar with the folder?
I don't know that I am familiar with the folder.
In the folder, we try to give this to every guest that we have on.
Okay.
When I remember. And when I brought it with me. Sometimes I remember and I don't have it. Sometimes I have it and I don't remember it. Just the way that it goes.
Well,
I
I'm
have
lucky
mental
today
problems.
because
Yes.
I get both.
Yes, you get both. We have the folder. Inside this folder, there are two pieces of paper.
Okay.
One says friend. One says polite, tolerant acquaintance. What we want you to do is, we want you to take the folder.
Okay.
We want you to think about how you've the time that you've had on the show today. If you've had a good time, if you've enjoyed working with us, if you think the show was a worthy half hour,
Okay.
or was it just sort of like throw away?
Yeah.
Are you a friend of the show, or are you a polite, tolerant acquaintance of the show? That's what we want to know. Look at that!
Yay.
Look at that!
Can you turn this into a pin? Like put this in?
That's going to be a big pin.
Now, we have a little token gift for
Oh,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
This is for you. She
you.
already guessed it. I'm not going to tell you what it is. She already guessed it.
I think that was magic, me guessing that on the first
So, are you going to sing first, or am I going to sing? The crowd is ready with me, with my song. You will have to sing your song alone, but the crowd is with me.
Okay.
So, are you brave enough to sing a song for us and put
Yeah.
it on YouTube?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
She's a strong candidate.
She's a very strong candidate.
very
I
strong.
have to be ready to sing a song,
Yes.
any given time.
And go.
Don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright. Singing, don't worry about a thing, 'cause every little thing is gonna be alright.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Passed on all accounts.
Yes.
All accounts.
Now
I would like to challenge any of her competition to come over here and
Sing
be
Bob Marley
as,
better than me.
as confident and as good as she is, and we will invite them on YouTube
Yes.
to come. Give us a call. We'll get you in. Now, my song is ready.
Okay.
So here we go.
Okay.
Ready? Mana mana.
Do, 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 do.
Mana mana.
Do, 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 do.
Mana mana.
Do, 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 do. I'm not hearing much from the peanut gallery here.
The crowd is awful. Well, anyway,
Okay, start again. Do
they get
it
the
one more
point.
time.
They got the point.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, do you want me to do it?
Let's do
again?
one more time and see if they can redeem themselves.
Okay, redeem
Come on,
themselves.
guys.
Come on.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready.
Mana mana.
Do 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 do.
Mana mana. There.
Yeah.
They do.
They need coffee.
Yes. They definitely need
They
coffee.
need coffee.
Coffee.
They need some stimulants. But what are we gonna do, man?
What can we do? If you can't get a do out of the peanut gallery,
This is
then
the
what
easiest
can you
song
do? I know.
I could have gotten for the crowd.
I know. Well, time then to draw the curtains on another edition of Coffee Anyone. But don't forget, you can always find our latest shows and trailers and specials at coffeeanyone.us. Thank you to our esteemed guest for being so open and candid. Thanks to Doreen Me, not only for the refreshments and for the space, but also for putting up with our nonsense, quite frankly. Thanks also to our sponsor, Main Street Antiques, for supplying us with wonderful gifts that we share with our guests. You wouldn't know it to look at it, but that small envelope over there actually has a Tang Dynasty vase in it. Now, don't forget to subscribe to the show on YouTube so you'll never miss another episode or trailer or special. And if you know someone who might make a good guest, even if it's yourself, get in touch and let us know. From us, though, it's a healthy, fare thee well, and a reminder that it's never too late to take a new friend seriously. Good night, everybody.
Bye.